Good morning. It's a beautiful, gorgeous spring morning. My name is Jennifer Hester, and I'm here to assist with the worship service today. We welcome all of you to our service this morning at Heritage Universalist Unitarian Church, especially those who are searching for a spiritual home. Many of us were once too seeking something larger than ourselves to which we could belong, a sense of rootedness to hold us as we create meaning together, and a sense of freedom as we explore and grow. Whether it's your first time to worship with us or your 100th time, we are honored that you've chosen to gather with us here today, both in person and on live stream. Portions of this service will also be available on our church website, huuc.net, for people who want to feel connected to the service at a later time. If you are visiting for the first time today, I offer you a special welcome and invite you to sign our guest book back in the lobby area, if you haven't already. Luke Wazowski is the board greeter today. He's here to answer questions and familiarize you with our building after the service, if you wish. The back of your order of service has several announcements of upcoming events and important information about our church life. More information can be found on our website. After the service today, everyone is invited to gather for our potluck in the great room after the service. It's okay if you didn't bring anything today. There's always enough to go around. Please make sure you've turned off or silenced your phones and take a moment to center yourselves as we enter into a space of presence and community. For those in the sanctuary who might feel restless or fussy during the service, whether you're 8 weeks old or 80 years old, know that our congregation values your presence here. Squawks, squeaks, and movement are just a sacred part of our worshiping community as deep silence and joyous singing. We want all who are worshiping with us to feel welcome in our sanctuary.
Call to worship today is from Mariah Mitchell. Small as is our whole system compared with the infinitude of creation. Brief as is our time compared with the cycles of time. We are so tethered to all by the beautiful dependencies of law that not only the sparrow's fall is felt to the uttermost bound, but the vibrations set in motion by the words that we utter reach through all space, and the tremor is felt through all time. Come, let us worship together. So hello Zoomers, hello Roomers, hello future viewers, whichever category you fall into. I invite you now to rise in body and or spirit, sorry about that, and sing our opening hymn, number 360, Here We Have Gathered.
Why not?
By this covenant, we affirm that love is the spirit of this church, the quest for truth is its sacrament, and the service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God. So today your one-armed minister is here, but your director of Lifespan Faith Development is not. Lacey did, however, send along a cute Eclipse explaining video for everyone of all ages who might want a quick refresher course on exactly how it is that we can have a cool astronomical event like the one that happened on Monday. Aaron, can you show us the video?
Namaste, Earthlings! One of the most amazing celestial experiences witnessed by Unitarians is about to occur once again. So pull out your solar viewers, set up your lawn chairs, and get ready for a quick lesson about my moment in the sun. Who turned out the lights? The 2024 total solar eclipse. My pal Sun here is about 400 times bigger in diameter than myself. But to you tiny Earthlings, we appear about the same size. That's because Sun is 400 times farther away from Earth than I am.
Because Earth orbits around me and Moon orbits around Earth, Moon occasionally passes in front of me and blocks out my light to you guys on Earth. That's called an eclipse.
Right, Sun, but since I orbit in an ellipse, and not a perfect circle, I am not always the same distance from Earth. So, the way an eclipse appears to people on Earth varies. Here, I'll show you. If I'm farther from Earth when I pass Sun, I'm going to appear smaller, so I won't cover up all of Sun's light.
That's called an annular eclipse.
Right, but if I'm close to Earth, then I appear bigger. I can cover up all of Sun when I pass by. And that, dear friends, is what I've got planned for this April. A total solar eclipse. But not everyone gets to see the show. The eclipse is my shadow cast on Earth blocking out the sun. If you're standing in a spot covered by shadow, it will look like nighttime. But my shadow can't cover the globe, so most areas will be left out.
We hope you can make it. Mark your calendars, everybody. April 8th, 2024.
That's right, Sun. And don't forget, looking at my pal Sun here is dangerous for the eyes, so make sure you have special glasses to watch the eclipse. We'll see you for my big moment.
So now I have a quick trivia question. Who can tell me when the next solar eclipse in the continental United States will occur? Kai. 20 years from now. 2044. 20 years from now. Who knows, now that's the continental United States. Who knows when the very next total solar eclipse will happen and where? Iceland, Greenland, and a small part of Spain is the right location. And it is not 20 years from now, but 2 years from now, 2026. So today, while the adults are sharing some of our eclipse experiences and making some music here in the sanctuary, guess what the children will be doing? The same thing, but with their peers. So let's sing together as the young people leave for their Sunday morning activities, and then we'll all reconvene in the Great Hall for lunch after the service. The recessional is Touch the Earth, Reach the Sky. So yes, we have a service today about the eclipse. We are, after all, a little bit geeky here at Heritage Church. In fact, some of my favorite services, and folks tell me some of theirs, are those occasional Sundays every year or two when I highlight what I call weird science. Strange and unusual, but very true and real things that happen in our world and in our universe. Things that give a sense of and speak to the wonder and beauty and mystery of life, yet can be explained by, science. This morning we can, because we're a little bit geeky, devote a whole service to one of those magical, mystical events that for thousands of years evoked fear and terror, awe and wonder, prayer and reverence in our human ancestors. The complete disappearance, if only for a few seconds or minutes, in broad daylight on an otherwise normal day of the sun, a total solar eclipse. This was hard with one hand, yet I did it. These are the protective glasses I wore Monday afternoon. In our time, we have the know-how and the technology and the ability to not only create, but to mass produce, and cheaply at that, such an amazing thing as eyewear that allows us to safely look directly at the sun. You may be wondering how I'm saying all this right now. I'm looking down at the pulpit, not up at the sun. Everything from, I can't see even the first row, right? I can't see the ceiling. But anyway, we have those things. The ancients did not. And one wonders what they did during an eclipse and how they managed not to suffer from a lifetime of vision ailments. One wonders how this man, a Greek philosopher named Anaxagoras, who lived 2,500 years ago, figured out the things he did, including correctly explaining, although in his case one might more accurately say deducing, how and why a solar eclipse occurs. Basically, Anaxagoras did what that video we just did. He figured that out, and he's credited with being the first person to do so. And in fact, as I learned about him this week, I'd never heard of him until this week. He's such an interesting character that I expect I will be preaching an entire reflection about Anaxagoras sometime in the future. His ideas, his spirituality, his life, very cool guy. So we'll be learning more about him sometime in the future. But the geek in me digresses. We're having fun this morning talking about and singing about the sun and solar eclipses. Later, we will be hearing about the experiences of my family and others who were lucky and privileged enough to enjoy Monday's special moment together. But I am aware that Monday was not a blessed and magical day for everyone. A member of our church was seriously injured during an eclipse viewing trip. Others, including the people who serve us, be they police officers or baristas, pharmacists, or bank tellers, had to work during those 3 or 4 minutes on Monday afternoon. Most schools were closed, but not all. In other words, as we celebrate the North American total eclipse of 2024 today, let us remember that the majority of us who are gathered here this morning or who are hearing my words at some point in the future are very blessed and deeply privileged just to be able to do so. Now, before I get more deeply into our own personal experiences this week, I'd like to share with you the words of a writer named Manisha Ravisetti, astronomy writer for Science.com, who experienced the eclipse not that far from where I did, but at the infield of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, of all places, where thousands of people gathered, to each their own, I suppose. Or maybe it's just that she was assigned to go there by her editor. At any rate, I think what she wrote is really beautiful. As the clock continued ticking and totality began to approach, I grew aware of my breathing. It was alarming. I did not expect it. It was meditative. Surrounded by thousands of people on a racetrack who were involuntarily shouting with glee as a crescent sun slipped into a sliver, I could sense the earth turning. I noticed that we weren't standing on top of our planet, but rather we were stuck to it, somewhere on the side by gravity, due to the curvature of space and time and Earth itself. The crisp winds flowing through my hair started feeling like streams of individual molecules. The temperature dropping made me think about thermodynamics. I wondered where the birds were. A guy standing next to me who had just asked for advice about his solar eclipse glasses in a very serious tone was suddenly screaming, "Bro, look at the sky." I almost cried. And I didn't know if it was because of the eclipse or if it was because of myself. This from the same writer who at the beginning of her article wrote, "I've been struggling to find the right words." So take a deep breath, my friends. Let Ravichetti's powerful word picture fill your mind. And now, turn your attention and open your hearts to the choir, who has a couple of pieces for us this morning. The first is titled, "Sun is Gonna Shine."
Good morning. I'm Erin Walczewski, and I'm here to talk about sharing our abundance. For those of you who are visitors to our church or who are watching on Zoom, every week the offering from our church goes not to our church, but to a local, regional, national, or even international nonprofit that connects with the message. And today's recipient of our Sharing Our Abundance is the Cincinnati Astronomical Society. And for those of you on Zoom, there will be a link to donate in the chat. So we're talking about eclipse experiences today, and we had a wonderful eclipse experience with our family. We weren't really sure that we were going to go to totality until the night before. We had been lobbied by Luke's brother, who lived in Carbondale in 2017, who assured us that the difference between being close to totality and actually in totality was literally the difference between night and day. But we heard all these doomsday reports on the news and on the radio, and they said gas stations will run out of gas and restaurants will run out of food. Prepare to camp on the interstate. And I have 2 young kids, as you know, so for us, preparing to camp on the interstate means downloading movies on the iPads and lots of snacks. Yes, exactly. So I'll come back to that in just a second, but we did decide to go to totality. We went to a friend of a friend's house in Columbus, Indiana, and when we were getting ready to go the night before, I was looking up some things about how to take pictures of the eclipse with my iPhone, and my husband said, hey, I know you love to take pictures, and you should do what's going to make you happy, but I want you to really consider, he said, just experiencing the eclipse. And he said, first of all, no one's going to get better pictures than NASA, and they will share. But he said, there's something really to being in the moment when this is happening. And so that not only helped us to decide, yes, we were going to go to totality to share this experience with our children. And I did take a few pictures with my iPhone, but mostly I left it to the experts so that I could really experience this phenomenon when it was happening. So I will say my mom-like contribution to this goes back to the snacks. We packed sun chips, sun-made raisins, sunflower seeds, Capri Suns, a drink my children had never heard of before called Sunny D. And we had thematic snacks all the way to our friend's house in Columbus. And when it came time, we had the glasses, we had all the things, and for us, it was truly magical. The quickly falling twilight was just something I had never experienced before. We were out in the country, and so the 360-degree sunset felt like being on the set of a science fiction movie. And within a minute of the night happening, or of our 3-minute night happening, an owl swooped right over the top of where we were lying on the grass, looking for its nocturnal hunting grounds. But I will say, our family also really loves roller coasters, and we go to Kings Island a lot, and I was having a moment like that, because other people have talked about it being calm and meditative. It's not like that with my children. We were lying on a blanket on the grass, and I had Jack on one side and Kate on the other side, and as it got to be very dark very quickly, both of them grabbed my hands and squeezed them, and they started yelling, "It's coming, it's coming, it's coming." But I was having such a moment, and I was thinking, when will I have another chance like this with my kids? So our recipient today is the Cincinnati Astronomical Society. Their mission is that. It's helping people experience astronomy and experience that magical moment of looking at that connection between what we experience here on Earth and what's broader in the universe and the cosmos. It was founded in 1911, which makes it one of the oldest astronomical societies in the country. And like some of our other recipients, it's a very small organization. It's small, it's local, and it's helping people like us and our neighbors experience that through the preservation of dark sites, through public events, and through experiences that help people connect and understand what they're seeing in the night sky. So with that, we welcome your gifts to the Cincinnati Astronomical Society.
Thank you, everyone, for your generosity. Thank you, Aaron, for setting that up and sharing the Walczewski story. On August 21st, 2017, I stood just outside this round window in the center of our labyrinth and observed and experienced an almost total eclipse of the sun. And that's me, looking perhaps a bit more than 7 years younger than I do today, in a photo taken by Jennifer as the moon is just beginning to obscure a portion of the sun. Several more Heritage members were there as well, including a couple of other folks who today are convalescing from various injuries and surgeries. A lot of those who gathered out there 7 years ago are in various states of convalescence right now. Surely that is a coincidence, right? As the light grew dimmer that afternoon, I recall thinking how connected I felt to those who were there with me on this sacred ground that we now call Heritage Church, and also ground that was sacred to other human beings who had perhaps, or no, in fact, certainly considered that very spot hallowed and sacred in centuries and cultures past. I remember thinking how connected I felt to others whom I knew around Cincinnati, who were experiencing the same natural phenomenon in their own individual and chosen ways at the same time. I recall feeling deeply and powerfully connected to our son Patrick, who on that day was in the path of totality down in North Carolina. And I remember feeling connected to the tens of thousands, if not millions of people who were experiencing the American eclipse of 2017. That's one thing about an eclipse. It's the kind of event that briefly, all too briefly, connects and even unites people of all backgrounds and beliefs, offering us a shared experience and a common language. Remember who was president in 2017? Well, for one afternoon, for a few minutes, that didn't matter. We could put on our solar glasses, or maybe we should call them social blinders, and be amazed together, equally and equitably awestruck at the greatest show on earth, taking place somewhere above the earth and casting its lovely lunar shadow on all of us down here on earth. That experience, the eclipse of 2017 here at Heritage, only served to make me want more. And when I heard about what totality was like from Patrick, I knew that I had to have that at some point in my life too, is sort of like what Aaron said. So fast forward to this past week. The 2024 total solar eclipse was, for me, once again, primarily about connections and interconnections, but this time in a slightly different way. Jennifer and I had been eagerly anticipating April 8th, 2024, for a very long time, ever since Patrick had told us that he would definitely be home in time for the next total eclipse. As a result, Jennifer reserved a cabin for us in Brown County, Indiana, just outside Nashville, Indiana, and we moved in there last weekend to get ready for the eclipse. We were saddened that her mother and stepfather were unable to join us as had been originally planned because her mother broke her foot and had to have surgery. What is it with all these injuries? But my niece and her son were able to come from Virginia, and Patrick's friend Eric, whom he met in Indonesia but who lives in Mount Washington, there's a story there, was able to join us. And here are the three young men of our cabin doing some pre-eclipse sun salutes on the porch of that cabin. As eclipse time drew near, we gravitated toward our eclipse viewing area, an open field right next to a fire pit. And each of us had our requisite glasses, of course, courtesy of the Cincinnati Observatory. Here is Patrick. And here is Jennifer. And yours truly. So what did I experience during those 3 minutes and 48 seconds in Brown County, Indiana? Well, my words won't match those of Monisha Ravashetti that I shared earlier, but I will say that I was aware of how quiet everything was. A hush fell over the non-human animal life because it took us two-leggeds a moment to grow quiet. It looked like dusk, not like the pitch black that I had somehow foolishly expected, but it was a very surreal dusk, unlike anything I'd ever seen in my life or will ever again. The complete and utter once-in-a-lifetimeness of this moment struck me to the depths of my heart. While others were eager to look at the sun, I was more drawn to the surroundings down on earth. The creatures, frozen in place and silent. My eye was drawn to a bug of some sort, spinning around as if its internal gyroscope had gone awry, and then suddenly heading for cover under a large leaf. I watched eerie shadows dancing on the grass and the trees. I felt the air. The air was different, heavier, or maybe let's say almost solemn. I got goosebumps. I remember thinking this will be over in a few more seconds and I have to soak it all in, to appreciate it, to live in the moment. I thought about how Patrick had come back, come home, to share this moment with us. We all hugged, and then it was over. You could detect a slight change in the air again and in the light. Soon the birds were chirping as if it were dawn. The bug I'd been looking at resumed its appointed rounds, whatever they may have been. The shadows were gone. The moon was gone, only to reappear on schedule later that night. Days later, I read Ravashetti's article online. In it, she concluded that the eclipse felt so intrinsically dreamlike, confusing and surreal, that the more time that passes from those few minutes of totality, the more my body accepts it as having been a dream. And it feels sad to distance myself from this so quickly. We usually get to have at least a few months or maybe even a few years before yesterday becomes cemented in the past. I'm not quite sure I even had a few hours. Again, I totally agree with her on all counts. Maybe that's why I planned this service for this Sunday, to help myself, to help all of us keep those memories alive just a little bit longer. May it be so. I now invite you to close your eyes, to become aware of your breathing, of each breath, to let yourself become more relaxed, to take a journey inside to a memory or a place that brings you peace. Take the next few moments for quiet and reflection. Blessed be. May moments such as we just shared, which we do each and every week here in this sanctuary and on Zoom, remind us of the peace and the quiet and the magic and the stillness that at least some of us experienced on Monday, those without little kids anyway. May it be so.
And now it's time for our Candles of Community, a sacred and long-cherished tradition here at Heritage, where we share the joys and sorrows of our lives. The flame embodies them, and this community holds them with reverence. If you have a sacred joy or sorrow to embody with this flame, I'd ask that you come forward along the outside walls and return down the center. Say your name and speak directly into the microphone before lighting one candle. Out of respect for others, please be brief. If your joy or sorrow is one you hold too close to your heart to speak out loud, you may choose to light a candle in silence. First, I'd like to read those that were sent prior to the service.
So I light this last candle for all those joys and sorrows that remain unspoken in our hearts. This week I invited folks to share their photos and Eclipse experiences with us today, and the next portion of the service will highlight some of those who did not wish to speak but who had images or thoughts to share. Here's Stephanie Wilson, kicking back and enjoying the eclipse on her deck. Hi, Stephanie. I hope you're watching at home right now. Here are Aaron and Sherry McCamley with their special shades on. Sherry said, "We were surprised by the change in colors all around us and the dramatic drop in temperature. The experience made us realize just how small we are in all the universe." Some folks went all the way to Columbus, at least the one that's in Indiana, and then went incognito. That's Bill Lyon on the left, with a couple of UU religious leaders from the Columbus UU Church, photo by Barb Lyon. The Lyons said it was totally worth the trip. How did that picture get in there? They're well ahead of their time, and they're from Ohio. Here is Mari Peya enjoying their very first eclipse. Mom Katie writes, "The kids were super excited, but I have to say I was a little stressed because keeping all the glasses on all three of them was very difficult." We were lucky enough to be in the path of totality in 2017 in South Carolina before we moved here, and it's experiencing it while pregnant with Sage versus experiencing it with 3 active kids was quite the dramatic shift. Amazing how much has changed in 7 years. Amen, Katie. So this is probably my favorite all-time picture of a moment of totality, or at least something was going on in the sky. These are the awestruck Bosch bird family. Talk about being all in and fully present. This next picture was taken by Doug Beasley during totality. What you see is called scientifically a post-eruptive solar prominence, but I call it theologically the beauty and wonder of the universe. And now I call what the choir is about to sing our own little portion of beauty and wonder right here on earth. I think you might recognize this next song.
comes the sun. Here comes the sun. It's all right. Sun, 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 here it comes. Sun, 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 here it comes. Little darling, I feel that ice is slowly melting. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been clear. Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun. It's all right. It's all right. Here comes the sun.
Thank you, choir. So we conclude our sharing about the total solar eclipse of 2024 with brief thoughts from 4 heritage folks who want to share what this event and this experience meant to them. The first one to share will be Valerie Dubay. There you are. No one on Zoom can hear you. You have to. Well,
Go here?
Okay. Well, I would say go to the pulpit, but you don't want to go there.
The fact that all of us human beings in the time and space of that day, if outside, were experiencing the same thing at the same time, how special is that? And we are all experienced, and what we all experienced was something big, pretty darn impressive, and outside of anything we, as human beings, are capable of doing ourselves. So humbling. It affected me deeply all the way to the physical level. I felt changed and in awe of what the sun and moon did, and I felt gratitude, much gratitude for the privilege of the experience.
Next is Doug Beasley.
Hello. Announcing my arrival here. Yes, twice in a lifetime. Got a shirt for it. When I was a youngster, I was fascinated with astronomy. That was my first pocket science book. I remember seeing a list of future total eclipses. I noticed that none would be seen near me until far in the future, an age that seemed very old. The thought faded from memory. Occasionally I would see news of some faraway event. For 40 years, we lived in western Nebraska. In 2015, we moved to Cincinnati. Shortly after, I learned of a total eclipse covering much of the U.S., including a direct pass over our former home. Of course, we had to go. Our viewpoint was near our former home in a park at the foot of Scottsbluff National Monument and a string of bluffs among our friends and neighbors. The skies were clear, the experience was awesome. I tried to take a video, but wasn't prepared for the unique circumstances. When I learned of the eclipse this year, I was determined to find the center of totality. Our daughter had found a place near Decatur, Indiana. That's the scene. It's on private property. No one is near but the birds and some donkeys and horses. The morning was crystal clear with time to explore and take pictures. At 9 a.m., this picture shows the motorhome, our base, looking in the direction of the eclipse. The morning's clear skies gave way to wispy clouds and airplane vapor trails. We worried about where these clouds would be at the moment. At 2:48, we donned our glasses. That's me and Barb and Reed and Jen and Jonathan. As the eclipse nears, you could sense a difference in the light. Nearly an hour before the total eclipse, you can see with the glasses the first slice of the moon's edge over the sun. Over time, there is a dimming, but more of a feeling, an aura. The birds are stirring and the air begins to cool. The sun looks pretty much the same, but you still can't look at it directly. Your eyes adjust so the darkness is hard to judge. Cameras on automatic settings are adjusted to make it look brighter. That was my mistake in the previous eclipse. Taking a video this time, I had to manually set the phone to daylight settings to show the difference, so it'll look pretty dark. The video that I'm going to show begins at 3:08:29. It's 50 seconds long and leads to the full eclipse. Listen for the birds. The donkeys bray, the horses whinny and begin to run. The camera, and you'll hear Reed talking about that, if you can hear the sound. That's the one, Reed. Yes. And then I was beginning to shake the camera, and I didn't have the camera on the sun at that time, but I slowly raised it, and you could see it when it was just before the total eclipse. And it goes down, and I go back up, and you can actually see what it looks like to see the eclipse. So go ahead and run that.
Horses are running around. Like now, if you put your glasses on, you can't see.
It is a little blurry from the distance, but you can actually see it looks like the light with this hole in the middle. At that point, I stopped the video and took a burst of close-ups, and followed by that one final shot. Can you show that one that Bill had talked about? Well, I just wanted to clarify a couple things about it. It's a little different than what Bill said. This, when Bill was talking about the protuberance or whatever, that is, if you look at 7 o'clock, there's a little dot there. I'm sorry. At 7 o'clock, you see a little dot there, and it looked orange from the side, and that's where there's kind of a solar flare that came out and shows. The big part, it's called the diamond ring effect, where the sun is starting to come out, the moon is starting clear, and so that looks like a diamond ring. So it's a combination of the sun starting to show and then a bit of the solar flare. Will I have a third chance? It won't be in the United States probably, but who knows?
Jen Celino.
So like Aaron's family, we made the decision the night before. I was lobbied by my husband, who for the first time ever called a family meeting and said he was literally begging me to take the day off so that we could drive to Totality. And of course, because he's the most important thing that exists in my life, I did that with all of the same stressors that Aaron had. So I packed everything and was very stressed about it and very angry that I now had to do all this project management to make sure it was going to go down well. And he and Romeo had done a lot of mathematics and found a really fantastic site. They were trying to calibrate and balance what is the right drive time to maximize the duration of the eclipse that was worth the drive. And they found one that was great. We went to Houston Woods State Park and we parked outside the lodge. He wanted to leave at noon. I said, no, I want an actual parking place. I don't want to land in the ditch like many cars did. And we got there at 11:50 and got the very last spot in the parking lot, much to my joy, so I could say, see. So we were along the edge of the woods, and we all had, the trunk open, and all of the all the other people had their minivans open, and like others, we mapped out our spot with quilts that we had brought. He said he wasn't going to need to sit, so we only brought 2 chairs because I said, I'm sitting, so bring 1 other chair so others can maybe take turns sitting. And he's like, yeah, we should have brought more chairs. And then because I recently had elbow surgery, the boys were getting bored. I said, oh, mom brought soccer ball, mom brought football because mom's awesome. So they went off to play football, and I couldn't play football because of my recent surgery. So I sat near the tree in the shade, and this little girl who was about 4 years old walks up and she starts banging on the tree with something that looked like a screwdriver or something. And at first I was like, she's gonna damage the tree. And I'm like, this is a 300-year-old tree. I'm sure it can handle it. So instead I said, it's a big tree. And she said, yeah, I don't know if I could ever climb it. It's too big. And I said, do you think you could learn how to fly up into it? And she went, yes, because I'm a superhero. And I said, indeed you are. And then she started asking, I had my brace on my arm. She says, where's your family? I said, they're over there playing ball. She said, that's cool. Then she said, what happened to your arm? And I was telling her all about it. And then she said, will you tell me a story? And I said, you want me to tell you a story? Yes. And I said, well, and then behind me, clearly her mother had been listening to the whole thing and said, we have a book. And it was Where the Wild Things Are, and it was the first time she had ever had that story. And of course, I've read it to all 4 of my children over and over and over. So I read her the story, and we got to the page where it's just monsters and there's no words, and I dug and I went, oh yeah, I remember how you read this part. Rumpus, rumpus, rumpus. And I said, does this look like rumpus to you? And she said, yes. And so then we were done, and she said, can you read it again? And her mom said, I'm so sorry, is it okay? And I said, you're welcome. And I read to her again, and for about an hour, I was this child's grandmother, and she ended up snuggled into me, and it was so beautiful. And then she eventually started playing with our children. We, of course, had the moving moment. I did cry during the Totality after being so laissez-faire about it. And then as we were getting ready to leave, I could see her and her mother coming out of the lodge. And I rolled down the window and I said, it was so nice to meet you. And I don't know her name. And I said, bye. And she goes, can I say bye to your boys? And I rolled down the back window and she said, bye, boys. And then her mother looked at me, and I thought, this is what community meant during the eclipse for many of us. Her mother said, have a wonderful everything.
Thank you, Jen. Okay, here comes the son. This is Patrick Sanders.
Hello, everyone. I'm Patrick. I didn't prepare any words for this because, like all of you in the eclipse moment, I like to be in the moment, so I'm going to make it up. And I think that'll be more important and meaningful for all of us. When my dad asked me to say some words about my eclipse memory, it brought back the feelings and the experience that I had 7 years ago, which was incredibly profound, so I will try to put it into some words for you all today. I was invited to go down to my friend's friend of a friend's house near Asheville, North Carolina. I was living in Columbus at the time, going to school at Ohio State. I brought a couple of my friends. I didn't really know what to expect. I did not know it was going to be this big of a deal. And we arrived down there. It's a beautiful site on the top of a hill with this guy's whole family, like mom and grandparents as well. It's their family homestead, very beautiful property with a good viewing space. And as soon as we arrived, I felt like, oh, this is gonna be big. I could just feel the momentum building, so I wanted to ground myself, and I offered to help out for everybody else as well. So I facilitated and led a yoga session and meditation for everybody who was there, at least all of my peers, like the young people who were there. And that really set the mood quite nicely. And also that morning I had felt like this strong calling that I needed to fast. So I wasn't eating anything that day. And I was really trying to feel present in that moment. And as it was coming up and we had the glasses, I didn't even really know what was going on. But once it started, I just felt like this incredible feeling of alignment, and that makes sense, obviously, with the sun and the moon and the earth being in line. But my personal experience was feeling connected to the divine, and like I was a witness of my life, like I was an outsider, just watching like a movie screen of my own life. Like I felt like a complete release and letting go, and just like feeling the flow of that moment and of my life, like watching my whole life go by me. I just felt like I don't need to do anything, like I'm in the right place, the right time, all of those sorts of cliche phrases. I was like totally there and present, and it was very powerful. Like it lasted the whole rest of the day and even the drive home the next day. And after that moment, I thought, I'm definitely going to be there for the next one. So I set it in my calendar, I looked it up, and I had told my family about it, and that's what my dad mentioned before, is that while I was traveling for the past few years out of the country, I knew April 8th, 2024, that was like the last possible day I'm going to be home before that, because this was such a powerful thing, and I really wanted to share it with my family. So I'm grateful to my mom for getting that cabin. It was really, really special to have our own space, which actually reminded me quite a lot of the place we were at 7 years ago in North Carolina, in that we were separate and on top of a hill with a good view, and also that it was a family gathering, getting to have my cousin Jen and Becker there, and my new friend who I met abroad, Eric. He got to join as well. And this year, or this eclipse rather, was very different in terms of my mentality. It was a lot more chill than the last one, and yeah, we just were hanging out at the house. We didn't actually leave or drive anywhere for 3 solid days, which was great, getting to be in that space. I didn't have to do the leading, luckily. Eric led the yoga session that day, and we all just had a really relaxed time sharing that experience and looking at the sun and the moon in perfect alignment. And it was, for me, this time, the message more was about return, like they had mentioned, because those celestial bodies will always return into that alignment somewhere and sometime. We may not be able to be a part of it again within our lifetimes, but it will always happen at some point again. And so that's kind of how I felt about my returning back home from my travels, is I don't know when or where or how or why, but I know that I will be here for this, and I'm still feeling this is the right time for me to be coming home, and it's the right place for me to be with my family and friends around me. And so I was just very, very lucky to have that experience, and thankful for the presence that I felt in this eclipse and the previous one. Thank you.
Nothing to say. Let's sing hallelujah together. Please rise in body or spirit as we sing the first 3 verses of hymn number 203, All Creatures of the Earth and Sky. Let this be a joyous, celebratory, hallelujah singing moment. Please form a circle around the sanctuary and join hands for our benediction. While you're doing that, I just want to thank everybody who shared words or pictures or experiences with us today. Let's just put your arm out like that.
Like that?
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Gotcha.
Don't forget, we got lunch after this. And this community, ever evolving, always returning. Just look around and take it in. Is it up there? May the Spirit of life,
may the Spirit of life
that each of us possesses, flow from one to the other. May it stay with us. And bring us peace and harmony. Until we meet again. Amen.